Oh, you stinking bad computer. It checks out on me. Ugh.
I feel like this is
It does these work stoppages, you know. It wants us raised
just like
over here. What it doesn't know is it actually is
and then it's like a long time and then bam, it's over.
Yeah.
Well, this is good because we can have a little break here.
All something salty.
I'm taking a real break.
Are we taking a real break?
Or was it just like a joke?
Or was,
It's a donut break. You get to
Donut
watch me
break.
eat a donut.
so it's not a vending machine break? Okay.
Okay, you can
I
cool
made
watching
it-
me eat my donut now.
I made an analogy to this. It's a lot like planning a wedding or a big party. Because like you're introduced there to the idea, so you have to plan this wedding, and then you spend months and months and months planning for something that takes an hour or two to get over.
It's sad, isn't it?
And that's that.
Well, you know, the silver lining is that when it's done, you go on the honeymoon and everybody else cleans up for you.
Oh, yeah.
But then you have to do it for them later, so.
Yeah.
Not off the hook yet.
Or even like having kids, you know. They're born.
So
and
they
they
go
go
to
to
birthday
birthday
parties,
parties. You don't have
They
to.
drive you nuts, you die.
And then you're dead.
That's quite a summary of life right there.
Shanker knew what he was doing.
Shanker.
Shanker.
Sure.
I'm not even playing.
That's
a sad part.
His experience.
Okay, this is Ian Bostridge and Leif over at Andsnes. He's playing I really love, so kind of see what he did with it.
This is the original.
Okay, what do you think of that performance? Any comments about it first?
Very expressive.
He did a lot of crescendo in measure 12. Did you notice that there's this difference between the two D flats here?
Mm-hmm.
You really hear the accented D flat that comes first in the piano,
You don't hear.
and then you hear the voice, so it's off kilter. Do you feel the off kilterness in other ways too? Where the piano's doing one thing and the voice is doing another, it's a little uncomfortable. Why is that? Look at the triplets, lots of triplets, but dotted rhythms, and you feel this out of syncness all the way along. So it's not just measure 12, there it's slow. You know, you feel the two staggered in a very dramatic way, but the staggeredness has been going on for quite some time. That's interesting.
Plus,
And
it
they're
seems
very
like
clear with the
he
rhythm.
holds out long notes on the second beat of the measure a lot too, which I thought was
That's true.
putting emphasis in a strange place.
That's true. Did you notice how much energy it takes in 13 to play huge chords like that? Pianissimo. That's hard to pull off. And they did a great job making that very quiet and yet very sturdy and solid sounding. That's neat. Let's listen to another one. Now this is Fischer-Dieskau singing with Gerald Moore as usual.
It bugs me to listen to him in different keys.
When I see the scar. I don't see the scar.
Manche Tränen aus meinen Augen ist gefallen in den Schnee. Seine kalten Flocken saugen durstig ein das durstig ein das heiße Weh.
You hear the covering tone in the piano popping up again at the end? Even though the voice is now going down, do you see that Sev 1 business popping up in the wrong register in the piano, covering again? Isn't that interesting? So at the beginning we have covering tone C, and then here it is at the cadence, measure 14, in the piano, again in that same register, too high, and covering the voice's descent. And you can really hear it in this recording, can't you? Covering. Okay, what do you think of this recording?
You can definitely hear the devastation in his voice.
He's good at going, oh, and letting you just sort of fall away. A sustained note he plays with nicely.
I feel like he was like sighing internally.
I like that it was rounder, like especially at measure, the third measure of the melody at the ist gefallen in den Schnee, when it was less choppy. I think Bostridge tried to kind of emphasize every little thing, and I think Fischer-Dieskau just took the whole emotion, and expressed it in this, and just changed it at the two measures where it's really coming out. And other than that, it sounds just depressed. Not expressed. I don't know. Does that make sense? I don't know.
I think he usually does that. So sometimes I wanted to bring out some detail, but he's about getting the bigger picture most of the time. But do listen for that. Let's listen to this one again. Sometimes you'll have a longer note, and you'll hear what he does to shape it. He gives it a swell at the beginning, and then he tapers it off. In the midst, he gives each note a life of its own, and by letting the bottom drop out, dynamically speaking, it sounds like wailing, like some sadness has gripped you. It's really something. So let's listen to that one more time.
Manche Tränen aus meinen Augen ist gefallen in den Schnee. Seine kalten Flocken saugen durstig ein das heiße durstig ein das heiße Weh.
Now listen to how much wailing this guy does here.
Flocken saugen durstig ein das heiße Weh.
He really does a lot with that crescendo there, doesn't he, compared to the Fischer-Dieskau. That's amazingly different. Did you notice he didn't crescendo very much as he rose, and he left all the crescendo to happen in bar 12? That's different, isn't it? Real difference between those two. Any other contrasts that you wanted to mention? Very different voice types, huh? Very strident versus mellow and wonderful warm vibrato. Just different voices, entirely different characters. Great. So Ian Bostridge is really following the indications here. It says,
Yeah.
piano, you crescendo, but I don't go there. I don't do that. I wait until it's marked for me. That's interesting. I don't know if Schubert really meant for that to happen, but he's following this very literally by not crescendoing in the voice
Practices
in measure
now.
11. What's that?
I said his performance practice is very literal.
Very literal,
He
yeah.
doesn't want to
Breathe and
I find that the staccato-ish treatment, the detaché kind of business, is not as effective, as you were saying, Prini. It's just not quite as effective as the more legato approach
Right.
that connects everything, even if you pull back from them and let them taper off in the midst of a sustained note. Do you agree with that? Did you feel that one? Yeah, it's a matter of taste, but.